Hello, Mechwarriors. I'm doing a quick review of the Marauder 9M. I've actually done a recent review of this, but I actually found a way to tweak this thing just a little bit more and get just a little bit more cooling out of it to give you a little bit more firepower and a little bit better survivability. And I think that's just enough of saying a little, or a little bit for that matter. Anyway, let me show you the build really quick. So as before, this is the 9M, and I call the mass MRM, or mass murder essentially. And it has two of the MRM 40s. It has 4 tons of ammo, has ECM on board, which is what the 9M is famous for, and it's running a flamer on it. Now, what I've figured out how to do is if you switch out some of the armor, you take 3 out of the head, and take 26 out of each one of the arms, leaving with 25 armor in each arm. So about half the armor, essentially. This will allow you to put an additional double heat sink in the engine. And I'm running a light engine, not an XL, so that way I don't have to worry about it losing a torso and it having the match being basically over for me. I lose a torso, it's not the end of the world. I still have a flamer, and I still will have an MRM, hopefully. But with this build, the meat and potatoes gets even better. So you have a heat management now of 1.55. You have a firepower of 80. The 0.5, you know, the flamer does a little bit of damage. And an overall speed of 72.4. Now, in order to get this to work really well, the skill tree is absolutely paramount. So I want to fire my MRMs as often as I can, but the problem with firing anything more often than less often is it builds up more heat. So I maxed out my cooldown, and then I also maxed out my heat gen. I sacrificed my velocity since I'm only going 550 meters anyways. It didn't really seem all that viable there. But I did go with full missile rack, tighter spread, and more chances doing critical damage. And then as far as survivability went, I've got full survivability. Skeletal density, armor hurting, reinforced casing, and overheat damage all maxed out. I'm trying to keep the heat down so I didn't have any room for AMS. Honestly, I'm not that worried about it. Cool run and heat containment. Think of it as instead of having 100% cool rating, you have 120% cool rating. So that's something to think about. I also didn't bother putting anything into ECM. I know that's kind of a deal breaker for some people, but I really wanted to maximize my heat management. So that's really where it comes down to. So if you don't mind losing 7 nodes somewhere, go ahead and pick a place. Yeah, I mean, you want to lose it out of here, being able to fire your weapons more often and be able to do that little bit more of damage where you can kill somebody, losing your survivability, heat management maybe. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places you can choose. Ultimately, I think if I was to take it out, I'd probably take it out of the consumables. But I definitely went with a seismic sensor. And then I've got a single cool shot, and then I've got 2 artillery strikes, so that way I can do additional damage on the board, which leads out to getting, better scores at the end of the matches and stuff. So ultimately, I feel like this is a pretty decent build, and I was able to really maximize its cooling so I can have that potential. And if you look, the arms really don't give you a lot of shielding because they're way the hell over here. They're not over here. If they were over here, I might leave some of the armor in there, but ultimately, there's no weapons in here. They don't really serve a purpose other than to shield one another. I mean, if you look at it from above, they really don't shield the cockpit very much. I mean, the cockpit's way above them and stuff, so sacrificing armor in these arms is not a big deal. It's definitely not a deal breaker.